Action.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Hidden Pearls podcast. We are reporting from
St. Petersburg, Florida.
What are we doing here, Pops?
Well, today is Saturday, the 29th of April, 2023, and I'm about to go to bed and wake up in a few hours and participate in my first Olympic triathlon, the St. Anthony's Olympic Triathlon here in good old St. Petersburg, Florida.
Amazing.
Yep, and you and Mom came over to assist. Crew, yeah, kind of crew. And
came from Japan for this.
Yes, she did. Just 2 days ago, she was in Japan, flew across, had one night, kind of a night's sleep, and then jumped on a flight and flew in here. So we're grateful to have her. She's such a wonderful mojo and energy, just positive vibes.
Totally.
Totally.
So for this show, what we wanted to do was a little before show. If you've been following us, you've seen all of his videos and just kind of the daily check-ins. But we thought it'd be fun to do a longer format show where we can do kind of how you're feeling before the race, and then we'll follow up and do something after. And so, Pops,
yeah,
I know, this is our first try, so it's a really big deal. We've also had some weird things thrown in. So why don't you just start off with how you're feeling, what's going on, what happened a couple hours ago?
Yeah, so let's see. Mom and I, we flew down on Thursday, wanted to be on site a couple days and just check things out and do all those kind of things. And anyway, so we got in a little bit of, and we've been watching it, some pretty weird weather and all that kind of stuff. Well, the short of it is they've been on and off, very torrential rains and then not.
It's hurricane season.
Yeah, and then for tomorrow, though, today there's a high surge warning. So water's way up and the surge is pretty high. Not good for open water swimming. And then the riptide kicked in at the same time. So there's about 12 counties right where we're at, and we're in the heart of it. Very dangerous riptides.
It's not funny. I shouldn't laugh, but it's just...
Yeah, very serious. And then winds tomorrow are supposed to be gusting between 35 and 45 miles an hour, which in open water with riptides and a high surge don't make for very much. So about 4 hours ago, I got an email from the St. Anthony's folks canceling the swimming portion of the triathlon. So now instead of a swim, bike, run, it's going to be a run, bike, run. So I don't know exactly. I haven't got another email about how long it is. I've been told that normally when they're replacing 1 mile swim, they just do a 1 mile run. And you still do the bike ride at the same distance, and then you do the other. So I don't know exactly. And then we kind of talked about not going because swimming's that's my event, and then biking, running least. So now we've doubled up on kind of my weakest event, but so it goes. But then we thought, well, we're here. Don't know if we want to come back next year. So we just said, you know what? I'm going to go over and check in the morning and do my thing, and whatever comes, and we're going to do the very best we can. So we're supposed to have pretty hard rains in the morning until about 7. They postponed things a couple hours to start at 8 to try to avoid some of that rain. But when I leave in the morning, I'm pretty sure it'll be raining, but we'll see how that goes. So anyway, just one of those things. So we just got to kind of roll with it and try to get the old body in motion and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of where we're at right now. So a little bit of change. I was all packed for the swim, bike, run. So I had to reorganize my bag to do run, bike, run. So it's a little bit different, not terribly, but so I had to unpack and repack all those things. So I think we're good, and recalculated all my nutrition and all that kind of stuff. So there's a little bit of all that stuff going into it. And then I don't know where you want to go. And then this week, just tapering and all that kind of stuff. But that's probably enough that's the update where we're at right now. So I'm hoping, because we're 2 hours, we're in Eastern time, we live in Mountain. So it's going on, it's a little after 9 right now.
Tell them about, normally, normally what you would do is how you would check your bike in. But
yeah, so usually the day before. So if this is a Sunday event. So today we would have checked our bike in and left and had that there. And then all you bring is your kind of extra stuff in a backpack, and you throw it underneath your bike, and then you're ready to go. But they wouldn't let anybody check your bikes in early because in the evenings, the rain and the winds have been so terrible. They were afraid people's bikes would be damaged.
They've been knocking over the tents.
Yeah, all the big tents and stuff for the organization has been knocked over twice. So that no bike check-in. So now we've got to go. So they moved everything out so that we have time. So we've got an extra 45 minutes to get into the transition area, which is where all your stuff is in between the stages. So because everybody has to check in. They started with 2,700 athletes, I believe, doing the Olympic, but I don't know exactly where that number. And they've let people defer, which means that they can pull out this year and just come back next year without paying any difference. We opted not to do that because we're here, and I have no idea what I'll be doing next year at this time. So I better just run it best I can. So that's the plan.
Yeah. Also, when you did a practice swim a couple of days ago. How'd the water feel? Was it weird then, or you feel like it's just been getting worse?
No, water was great. So we landed on Thursday, and then Friday they do a kind of 1 hour orientation. I think it was, I'm forgetting her first name, but Coach Hutchinson. So she's done like 18 or 20 some full Ironmans and 35 halves and all that. I mean, anyway, quite the professional, but she's been now, she's from the area, but she did a great job for about an hour kind of coaching us up and some tips. And I'd watched a bunch of videos and all that kind of stuff, but it was, I mean, all pretty helpful. So, which led to then, so they do that, then they have an open water swim seminar. So then we walked over to the open water swim start where normally you would start for the Olympic triathlon. And so there were 2 people there just talking about safety. And there were a lot of people there that had not really done much open water swimming. I've actually done, I won't say a ton, but I mean a fair amount. So, I mean,
we plan our vacations around open water swimming.
Yeah. So between surfing and other kind of things. So, but you never know what you don't know. So we wanted to listen in and do all that. But it was really nice to get out in the water. I swam the loop twice. So I got about a 1,200 yard swim in. So it was really nice and felt really good in the water. The water was great. I did the first loop with my wetsuit and the second loop with just my suit on just to kind of try it. So I was ready to go for tomorrow. I thought it'd be kind of choppy in that. I didn't, but when the riptide thing and the high surge came in, I was kind of thinking they were probably going to cut it because they were telling people. And then there's a small watercraft, warning. So they're telling small craft not to even be in the bay at all. Yeah. So probably a good idea not to have swimmers. Because all the safety boats that would be there watching can't be in the water. So if the boats can't be there, you can't hardly have people swimming without boats. So anyway, so I do appreciate St. Anthony's and the management and all that stuff, thinking about the athletes and of course being safe. So you don't want to put people in harm's way. So disappointed we don't get to do the swim, but it is what it is. But I'm grateful that we had that one day. I was telling you about it, Mom, that as I was coming in on my second one, and the St. Anthony's, the way the bay, it's really shallow for long ways. And so you kind of walk and then you can kind of run. But like if you get in and swim, you're only, it's just kind of weird. So I don't know. But so I was walking that back and I had excuse me, a mid-size manta ray. I kind of 2.5 to 3 foot. I mean, it was nice size. Yeah. You're not giant, but I mean, not quite an adult, I guess. So maybe like 2+. But anyway, and it swirled around my left side, and it was just gliding, like, like that with the little legs. It was pretty cool. Anyway, and then it did like a little, but kind of like a figure 8 loop, and then kind of cruised by. And this is just me, of course. Kind of felt like he just kind of cruised right in front of me, kind of like held, and then just slowly kind of drifted off. So anyway, I was grateful for the ocean sending a messenger and saying hi to me. So that was really fun. So I love the ocean. It was great being back in the water and just feeling it and the salt and just everything. And just open water swimming is so different than pool swimming. So being in Santa Fe, New Mexico, all we got is pretty much, there's some lakes, but the weather has been in the 30s and 40s. It's been much colder than normal. Right. So I haven't done a lot of open water swimming. So it was really great to be back in the water and just practice sighting and then breathing over waves and current and all that stuff. So, but it was really good.
When I was practicing with him, because I didn't think I was going to be back for this event. I was still supposed to be in Japan, but some things shifted. And so, but leading up to this, I was training with him, and the sighting part was by far the hardest for me, where I would think that I would be going a certain direction, and after a few strokes, I would be totally off course. And I was shocked at how difficult that was for me. I got better. Once we were in California and I was working with the buoys, then I started to get better, but the first few times I did it, I was literally just big F-curves all the way through the water.
It's hard. It's harder than people think because you have a current, you got an undertow, you got waves. So you have all those things going on, and then trying to figure out, and then breathe, and then plus, you have to raise your head up in sight. So it uses a whole different set of muscle groups as well. So it can be very fatiguing for people. And then the choppier the water, obviously, the more difficult it is. So anyway, so the swim's off the table, and then we'll figure out some more stuff. I guess we were talking about doing this and some of the things that have come up just to so I kind of decided to do this about 3 months ago because we're at the end of April, so all of April, and then March and February. So sometime in February, and I'm trying to remember, I think I watched somebody do something and then just said, you know what, I'm 64 and it's time to do one. And then we tried to get one in before you left, and we just couldn't find logistically one that worked before you had to leave. So I just picked this one because then I knew someone that was coming down here, and I thought it'd be great to have somebody that's been through it and done it a couple times. And then they had to pull out because they got injured. So here I was, by myself in Florida, which I would not have normally picked. But anyway, so I guess we were talking about kind of the difficulties and all that. One of the things that was really hard for me was kind of the wetsuit component. A mile's really not that far. I'm used to, because we're over in California all the time. The water is so cold over there. It's really tough to swim without it, unless it's a really warm, hot day and you're kind of later in the season and all that. But if you're in the spring or fall at all, water is really cold, so you got to have a wetsuit and do all that kind of stuff. So I started pulling my wetsuit out to try to practice, but the old surfing wetsuit, and I had a swim wetsuit, but man, I don't know if, and actually I've lost it. Well, no, like during the pool swim. So like a month ago, I was just swimming in my suit and the swimming came back to me pretty well. I was doing a mile, quarter mile and a half each swim 3 times a week, and some intervals and all that kind of stuff. And then I thought, well, what if it's a wetsuit swim if it gets cold or whatever? So I better do that. So I put my full suit on and I was swimming in the pool. I had a complete claustrophobic attack. I mean, I could not get my breath for anything. And I don't know if it was mental or what.
Were you still swimming or did you stop?
Well, I tried to keep, and then I tried to push through it, just kind of breathe and do all that kind of stuff, and then I started just stopping. And the longer I went, it just felt like the worst, because the way those things are built is they're designed to kind of vacuum down. So as the water flushes through, so you kind of get water in and it feels fine. But then as you start to stroke, then the other thing is and again, nothing against cross country or whatever, but I'm not the tall, lean, kind of.
You are now.
Well, I know, but I don't know, but everything is so tight across the shoulders and the lats and all that kind of stuff. So I ended up ordering a triple extra large, and then I finally went to a sleeveless with shorts because I just couldn't, everything else just felt like it was pulling me down. Anyway, so I'm thinking that we need to start a company that builds for oversized triathlon wetsuits. So if anybody's out there that wants to jump on board with that, because I tried all kinds of brown, and then the other thing is if the temperature, so I didn't know this getting into it either. So if it's 78.1 with US Triathlon or lower, or it's 78 or lower, then it's a wetsuit and it's a wetsuit event. So you can wear a wetsuit. And most people, if you're comfortable in your wetsuit, are going to do it because it gives you a little bit more buoyancy and you cut through the water a little bit. So almost everybody that's proficient at it is going to be faster in their wetsuit. And so they want to wear the wetsuit. So if it's 78.1 or warmer, you can't wear a wetsuit. And so obviously if you're a pro or you're trying to place and finish, then you got to go along with that. So then what you do is you wear your tri-kit underneath it, which is a one-piece thing that you bike in, swim in, and run in. And then you wear what they call a swim skin. I didn't know anything about that either. And so I got myself a swim skin as well. I went through 3 of them though, because, I'm not going to mention any companies, but anyway, first one I got, zipper completely ripped out, replaced that. So I bought a different one from somebody else and they were all tight as heck. Then I bought that one and I was just putting it on the second time and I was just kind of putting it over my shoulder and the whole seam ripped out down the side. Called them and they sent me another one and it got here. So I've only worn it a couple times. So now there's not a swim tomorrow. I was planning on going with the wetsuit because with the storms and everything, the water's dropped about 5 degrees. So it's...
Well, and even for buoyancy.
Yeah, especially if it was choppy. I was just planning on wearing it just to give you a little bit more float. So anyway, and now I'm not swimming at all. And I put a lot of energy. A
lot of money.
Into wetsuits.
A lot of thought.
Swim skins and all that kind of stuff. And then just
even your hats.
And then trying all the different ones. Yeah, and then the different caps because if it's... Anyway. So now there's no swim. So now all I need is my tennies and a hat. And so I'm basically it. So...
But also speaking about tech stuff, what's going on with your bike shoes? Oh,
yeah. So... Anyway, okay, so all the professionals, they're down here and they've got the super clip-ons and I can't remember the different names, but I'm a gravel rider really, and I like the road too, but I've gotten away from that a little bit, just always worried about somebody on their phone picking me off on the highway. So I don't ride on the road as much. If I'm doing my road bike, I'm on my trainer or I ride a gravel bike on the dirt trails around Santa Fe, which is great. So I wear sandals all the time or the other clip-ins, kind of the mountain bike clip-ins, which are my favorite, super easy, and all that. So, and everybody's, you got to have these super slick shoes. The reality is I'm just getting through this, I've never done one.
We're going straight to Kona.
Yeah. And I've done the 3 events 3 times all in one day. I just tried to do it once a week the last 3 weeks. So I've got a feel for all that and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, so my sandals, I'm just like no socks. It's just a sandal you clip in and you go. Well, anyway, yesterday I had my bike out just kind of spinning a little bit, getting it around because you have to tear it all the way down. You put it in, if you saw those pictures, you put it in a little case and then you got to put it all back together, make sure everything's running right and safe.
Right. So you have to deconstruct your bike and then reconstruct it and then make sure that it works.
Yeah, right. So I did all that and then riding around and then I was just going down the elevator and I walked outside and then you know how like when the bottom sole of your shoe comes off, it flops, you know? So I picked my foot up, I heard it flop and I'm like, I looked down and so the whole, about half or not quite, but a third to half of the sole off my one sandal, the bottom had kind of come. So anyway, so today they made a run to the grocery store, wherever, and found me some super glue. So we cleaned it up and glued it, and so far it looks like it's going to hold.
We wedged it under a chair for some weight?
Yeah, so I had it underneath with this big heavy chair for a few hours. So anyway, those are some of the fun things that go on. Let's see what else. And then when we did the orientation, there's all kinds of stickers you have to wear. We've got to put a tattoo on. Your bike's got to be marked in exactly the right place. Then they've got a little band that goes on your leg for a chip and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of moving parts to make sure everything's going okay. So I'm kind of glad, you know, swim or no swim, and I'm not excited about doing a double run, but it just is what it is. So I'm just glad to be here to have made the move and do all that. I will say this, though. I just want to kind of shout out to the triathlete community, you know, because like this is my first event. But, you know, in a way, I kind of feel like I found part of my tribe, you know, because there are a lot of odd ducks here, man. It's crazy. And you know what? It's beautiful because like there is every single body type, every single age limit. I mean, it is so diverse here, nationality, everything. So it's a really cool group so far to be around, you know, and I'm looking forward to tomorrow, just kind of being a part of the energy and doing all those kind of things. So, but it's really fun. People out here just trying to challenge themselves. And they have a relay form, they have a sprint relay form, they have Olympic relay. So some people are only doing like partial events and some are doing super short and then some are doing the whole thing and all that. So, which it's all good. You know, everybody's out here trying to have a little bit of fun and just kind of test themselves a little bit and all that kind of stuff. So that part has been really cool as well. So let's see. I don't know. Did you want to talk about training components and all that stuff? Or?
Yeah. I mean, as far as your training style, and I think we'll learn a lot more, is like how ready. I feel like you seem really ready.
Yeah. You know, it's hard to replicate because you can't do the open water swim. And then like where I'm at, I got to go to the pool and it takes me about 20 minutes to get back.
Right.
So they call it bricking. I didn't know this. So I watched it, thank goodness for YouTube, because I just like watched a bunch of YouTube videos. But anyway, so bricking is where you do at least 2 events back to back, and then you're supposed to do them in the order they do it. So they encourage you to go swim, and then after your mile swim to jump on your bike and do that. So I did that a bunch, but it's hard because it's a 15-minute gap in between. But, you know, I don't know. It's not like I'm not competing for the, you know, first, you know, I mean, I'm just trying to get through. So I do that, get back, and within a half hour, get on the bike and do all that kind of stuff. And then the one I read about or listened to that they really warned you about was doing the bike, because when you do 26 miles on the bike and then you hop off and then you got to run, for a lot of people, that's really difficult. So I've done a lot of that. I do the full ride and then get on and do anywhere from 3 to 6, just kind of depending on my day and the cycle and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, it was a little weird at first, but I don't know. I haven't been, but, you know, I biked a lot. So I don't know about that, but it took me a couple months to get my legs back biking. And so I'm really grateful. I've got a really good trainer and I got a nice bike. So I'm very grateful for that. And the ability to do that and be indoors when it was cold out. So, but I've done a bunch of those kind of things. And like I said, so I tried to rotate those. Normally I would do the bike run and then take a swim day and then usually a short run just to kind of keep those things kind of going. But, you know, I don't know. We'll see how all that kind of training goes. And then once a week, usually on Friday, I try to get in and get a swim, come home and do the bike, and then do a run. And so I didn't always do the full, well, twice I did the full thing, you know, on a Fridays. And then I started into my tapers. So I kind of cut back a little bit on that. So, but anyway, you know, so I have no idea. I talked to a couple people, listened to some, you know, stuff, and I just really listened to my body. Yeah. So anyway, so I got no super secrets. We'll see how tomorrow goes. I don't know. It's weird. It feels a lot less daunting with the swim out. And I'm a good swimmer and I felt really confident about the swim, but the swim, the way it hits your body, especially in open water. And then with all the wetsuit kind of conundrums I've had, I don't want to say I was like nervous. And then being in the practice swim in the ocean on Friday felt really good. So I was really looking forward to it. But it does kind of provide a level of exhaustion that's really different, and then jumping on the bike and doing all that. So with that off, it's like if you're not in the middle of the ocean swimming, like the worst thing that happens is you sit down on the curb, you know what I mean? Or something.
Totally. Yeah.
So it's just a different animal. So that just the whole thing feels a lot different without the swim, so it's disappointing, but again, it is what it is, and it just will rise up and do what we can. So
as far as nutrition goes, have there been any like big obstacles that you've come up against? I mean, as far as like hydration or cramps or anything that you've been feeling like you really need to supplement?
Well, I've had my base supplements. I've tweaked them just a little bit. For the last 5+ years when I bike really hard, I've had some kind of interior cramps in here. So the things I did to work on that, you got me that magnesium stuff. And I was taking 2 of those a day, and I don't know that was it only. And then I dropped a couple supplements, that were, I didn't really need.
That you had been taking?
Yeah. And because I kind of felt like, maybe that was part of it. So I added 1, took those off. And then I did 2 other things. I got not the Thumper, what's it called?
The Theragun.
The Theragun.
He calls it our Thumper.
The Thumper, like a little rabbit. But anyway, I do that twice a day, like every part of my body that I can reach, but mostly kind of knees up and hips and back and my thighs and all that. And when I started, I could really feel the tight knots in my legs. And so really worked on those. And honestly, that was really painful, and I didn't enjoy that at all. But the more I did it, it really helped. And I guess that's the whole point of it. So I felt like I got a lot there. The other thing that I really felt, so I'm a biker and yogi and swimmer, but the other thing I did in my swim routine, I added a fin routine, and I put in about
fins on feet or fins on hands?
Fins on feet. And so I got the little bit larger ones. And so I was really trying to activate the back of my, hammies, which I think what was happening, and I've been so isolated. I don't think I was cross training enough. And so biking, you get certain muscle groups, but I think what was happening is I didn't get the backside as much as I should have. And I think some of the front was overcompensating, and then I was causing I was out of alignment, and it was working that. So I've done a lot of hamstring work and glute work. A lot the last 3. So a lot more squats. And then the gym where I swim, they've got the leg extensions and the leg curl stuff. So I've added those into my routine as well quite a bit. And I think that's really helped to kind of activate those kind of pieces. So I just think being a little bit more conscious of that. And then the fin, if you've not done it, it's really crazy. It took me a couple months before I could do it without my back legs cramping up. Mm-hmm. But finally I got through that. They got strong enough and my cramps have gone away. So I really haven't had the cramping that I have in the past. So that was a nutrition question, but it was really more complicated than that. Yeah. So kind of tried to work on that. And then, when I started working out, when I was doing at least 2 workouts a day, historically over the last, I don't really eat all that much. You know what I mean? Like I'll have one, meal or dinner or whatever like that. But I know you're supposed to eat breakfast is the big one, and it's supposed to get smaller, but we don't really do that. But man, I was ravenous. Like I'd go swim a mile and a half, come back and do either 13 or 26 or 30 sometimes on the bike, and like
crushing food.
Like I'd eat, crushing, and I was still losing weight.
Well, yeah. You're vegetarian right now.
Yeah, I haven't eaten any meat for a long time. So I'm a plant-based
athlete.
A plant-based athlete. Thank you. Anyway, just check.
Do you feel like that's what it was, or do you feel like you kicked your metabolism up?
Oh, I just think I kicked my metabolism. I think it's like I roared the fire up, and there weren't enough logs in there, and I just I didn't want to overeat, but at the same time, I just felt like I'm not trying to lose weight. I wanted to be strong for this event.
I've got to say, I've never seen you eat so many carbs over the last.
I've been carbing like crazy.
We've had pizza every day.
Yeah, so I carbed hard this week.
We're usually not big pizza. You like pizza.
But I like pizza, but maybe once a week max. But no, but we're on the road here. So we had a great meal last night with pasta and all that kind of stuff. So I'm pretty carbed up. But anyway, so I think that's kind of nutrition. So
doing audio checks while we do this.
Yeah, big salad, lots of hydration, do my morning supplements and all that kind of stuff. So, but I feel like I've gotten that kind of tweaked down. I will say though, the nutrition question is really interesting because for the race, it's how much do you eat and when do you eat it before you go swim? Because, mile swim normally, because I've been at, when we lived in Iowa City, I would swim in the mornings around 6:30, and it was basically, I do a 12-ounce hydration piece, I'd make a coffee. I'd drive over, finish the coffee by the time I got to the swimming pool, and I'd swim on an empty stomach. And typically I'd do a mile and a half every, in those mornings. And I felt fine about it. It was no big deal. But, this one, if you don't eat, because then you're going from the swim and you're going straight into a 26-mile bike ride. And so if you don't have some kind of base, so you got to eat a little bit more. So honestly, I've got like a selection of stuff on the counter, and I'm not quite sure. I'm going to do my full hydration. I'm probably going to eat a banana, and then I think one power bar. And so that'll be probably eat that around 5:15. Race starts at 8. So it's 2:45 or so. And then I'll get set up in the transition area. And then I have to get up. And again, I'm not swimming first, I'm running first. And so for me, I can hold a little bit more swimming than I can't, because like a run for me, I can't really be very full. I don't know how you are for that. That's still tough. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same plan. So I get over there and I've got plenty of time to do that. And then hopefully hit the bathroom. And then when I'm walking over to the start, in that transition, probably I've got a small bottle of water with a little special kind of hydration mix with a little, just the extra calories. And I'll probably do one gel packet, as I'm walking over, just to kind of carry me.
I love those gel packets.
And I'll probably do it a little bit earlier than that. I'll probably do it 15 minutes or so before the start, because it takes about 15, 20 minutes for it to kick in. Because in the swim takes 45 minutes, just roughly 40, 45 for, me to do a mile in the open water. So the gel at the start of the swim would have been kicking in right at the halfway point. So for this, if I'm running, I'm anticipating that it's just going to be a mile run. If it is just a mile run, even 12 minutes or so, something like that, 10 to 12, I'm not going to hurt myself doing that. So you wouldn't have time for the gel to kick in.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you got to time it up so it kicks in kind of at the start of the race. But we'll see. Then I've got a coffee I got from this morning that I'm saving. My name not to be, because no freebies. Anyway, but my coffee blend is ready to go in the fridge. So I'm going to have a few gulps of that as well. So then throughout the race, after that 1 miler, when I get on the bike, typically, and again, I won't be, I don't think, as drained as I would have been after a mile swim. So I've got kind of a shaker with kind of a fuel recovery type thing I was going to do after the swim. I'll probably drink at least half of it and just see how I'm feeling. I don't know, I might drink it because it's still really muggy here, even though the rain.
Very muggy.
So I know I'm going to sweat a little bit more, and I'm not used to that because we trained at altitude with very low humidity. So that part is really different. So I want to stay super hydrated. Then I got 2 bottles on my bike, and then I'll probably eat a bar before I jump on, and I've got a couple gels. And so we'll just kind of see. So then I know I've got a 6.2 mile run at the end of that. So around the 15-mile mark, probably so I'll do a gel right at the start of the bike ride and at the 15. So I'd have something kind of cruising out the back end, probably eat 1 bar too. And then by 20 miles, won't have anything else, just to kind of keep it. And I'll probably take a gel right at the start of the run. So hopefully it gets me 2 mile, somewhere around the 2.5 mile mark if I'm doing 10 mile, because I should be warmed up by then, be closer to 10 mile minutes or 10 minute miles. And so then hopefully that'll kick in. They've got they got water stations at the 2 and the 4 on the 6 mile run. So, and they were supposed to have some gel packs, but I got my own with me. So we'll see how that goes. So I don't know, you got to eat enough. So you got juice in the tank and logs on the fire and all that kind of stuff, but can't be so much that you're kind of weighted down. So I'll have to really watch my beverage. You got to be hydrated, but I don't want to get off and be all sloshy either, because you can ride a bike kind of full. But boy, I can't run very well full. So, but that last, 15, 20 minutes on the bike, I'm going to have to be careful. So we'll see how that goes. So anyway, I've never done it. So I don't have any freaking idea what I'm doing. I'm just kind of winging it based on talking to people and hope I got a chance.
So why start now? Why start triathlons when you're 64?
One of my favorite books is The War of Art.
He gave it to us all for Christmas.
It's amazing. It's such a great book about life. If you haven't read it, God, I'm totally blanking on the guy's name now that wrote it. But anyway.
Yeah, it's an easy read.
Anyway, he's great. He's got a bunch of quotes. I don't know if he said this or not, and you guys have probably heard something like it, and I won't get it exactly right. But if you have if you have an idea or a vision or whatever, and there's any way possible in the world for you to start it, just start. Because once you commit yourself fully to the project, the universe will conspire to help you succeed. And I really believe that. And I don't know, I think I was watching, I don't know if it was some event. I saw somebody do something, you know, and I don't know if I saw somebody else like in their 70s or whatever. I don't know. And I just thought, you know, I've always wanted to do a triathlon, always, you know, and I have friends who've done Ironmans, and, you know, Levi, or my nephew and her cousin, you know, stud dude. Anyway, you know, he's done his triathlon, you know, he's done a couple and then did an Ironman and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know if I'll get to an Ironman. I don't know if I'll get to a half. But I looked at him and all, and I thought, well, I think I can do the Olympic because all that. And I just thought, you know, if not now, when? And if not me, who? You know, I mean, that's kind of how I felt. That it just felt like it's just time to do it. And so I wanted to do it. I got the time and I got the resources to do it. And so it was just like something on my bucket list, I guess, I wanted to check off. I will say I really enjoy the training. I like doing it. It gives you kind of a structure to focus. I'm really fortunate I don't have to go to an office job anymore. So that part's, you know, really helpful. So I feel for people like, you know, trying to train for an Ironman, if you got an 8 to 5 or whatever, I think that's really tough. So kudos to you guys. But really, it's just about, it's kind of a project. You know, really the other thing, there's a trainer that I follow. His name's Chris Hoth, and he's out in California. If you guys listen to Rich Roll podcast or any of that kind of stuff, he's on and off on that stuff. But anyway, but he's a long distance endurance trainer. So that's what he works with people on all that kind of stuff. And his motto for his show is self-discovery through endurance sports. And there was a part of that for me as well, because I guess in the back of my head, I just wanted to know, like, could I do this? Mm-hmm. And and it wasn't so much like, could I do the event? Because like these distances, like I think you can kind of just muscle through them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, it might be really painful, but you could do it. But I wanted to train and do it right and do all that kind of stuff. And so would I have the discipline and all that kind of stuff? And the other thing was, you know, maybe what would I learn along the way?
What have you learned?
Well, that motto is pretty true. I think there is a lot of self-discovery in endurance sports. I would say that it really reminded me that it's really about the process and not the outcome. And so you really have to kind of enjoy, you know, getting on the treadmill or getting on the bike trainer and getting in the pool and doing all that kind of stuff and have a passion for it. So there's that part of it. But like, there's like when you're doing a 1.5 mile swim and there's nobody in there but you. And so, you know, keep taking one more stroke and one more stroke and one more breath and one more stroke, and then just doing that. I don't know, there's a beauty and a rhythm to it that, you know, I know not everybody might be able to identify with, but I do, you know, and so, and just being in the water for me is a very healing kind of thing. You know, and then the biking was like, once I got my legs back, the first month was awful. I mean, it was awful.
Biking is hard.
I mean, like I'd kind of been, but I hadn't really been biking like hard. And then, you know, with football season, we go to the games and all that stuff, you know, just not as much. But when I got serious about it again, I got back on and really started cranking it. You know, it took me about a month and then I was kind of back into my wheelhouse. But, and that too, like when you do a 30-mile ride and you're on there for whatever, 1.5 or whatever it is for folks, or 1:45, you know, and it's just like you're cranking. I don't know what this, it just, there's a beauty to it. And like your breath and your lungs and just, you know, I guess what I'd say too, I just have the marvel at the human body. Mm-hmm. Like I'm at 64 and, you know, I'm just like knock on wood or whatever, because I've been so grateful. And so, you know, just, you know, the way that my body's responded in this, you know, to this event and trying to do this and putting the miles on it and do all that. And I haven't been super crazy. And those of you who are into it, like 80% of my work's all zone 2 and 3, because I didn't feel like I could do that super high intensity, and I'm not going to race that way. You know, I'm not racing, at least for this one. And then toward the end, the last month, I did 20% more of zone 3, 4-ish plus, just to get, you know, that high end stuff. And so that was pretty good because I felt like I'd gotten back in shape and I'd been working it and could do some of those kind of things. And so I can hit some top end things with some high level intervals. And that was really fun to do too. So I guess, you know, the lessons is that you still do kind of have a passion for it. It feels kind of fun. Like I'm not competing, mm-hmm. like, you know, like a football game kind of thing, but you know, you're still competing against yourself in something that you put a lot of time into. And that's really fun. Mm-hmm. And so like, I think there is something to that. So anyway, we'll see. I'd like to do at least one more this year and kind of keep training because we didn't get to do the swim part. So I'm really curious about having that all down and doing that together. So maybe if you're around, we could do that. So I'd like to do that. But I guess that's one thing I learned. And so just enjoying that process when you get on the treadmill or you go out for a run and it's that way with life. Like all we have is the present moment and the day that we're in right now, and just to appreciate what we do have and enjoy it as we go. So I think that helped me kind of really ground into that piece as well, as we're kind of moving towards some kind of goal. So it's pretty cool stuff. Okay, what else? Anything else, or have I just rattled on enough that we've lost everybody?
Well, I think you need to go to bed pretty soon.
I am over my time. I had 10 minutes. I want to be asleep by 10. So anyway, so what
Any final thoughts you want to?
Well, I don't know. I feel pretty good. I feel really well prepared physically. I had a little anxious, nervous. We just went up and ran 3 miles just to kind of get a sweat and knock off dinner and just kind of loosen up the legs again. So that feels good. I'm going to get up at 5:15. 5:10. I think I said it for. Drink my stuff. I got to put my tattoo on, do a little bit of yoga, and get stretched, and then I'll bike over. Might sleep till 5:30. I don't know. I think we can do that. I think I got to leave around 6:15. So anyway, you guys don't have to worry about that. So anyway, we're going to do that, and then next week when we get back, we'll debrief and just kind of see how the thing went. Like, what did we?
How the hell did it go?
How the hell did it go? So we'll see. So we're crossing our fingers. Hope all the body parts hold up, and that I don't get in some race with some other old dude and somebody elbows me or some shit like that. But we'll see. But anyway, I'm looking forward to it, and it should be really fun. I feel really grateful to be here, and I'm really grateful that you and Mom are here. So we'll see how it goes. So, and thanks to all those who donated, right?
Thank you very much, everybody.
Emerging Vets and Players fundraiser that we did. So we appreciate that very much. And if you bid on the auction that we've done on the Cleats for a Cause, George's autographed cleats, and or the jersey, we appreciate that as well. So thank you again. 100% of all proceeds, everything that was given goes to Emerging Vets and Players. So that was really fun as well. So we're grateful to do that.
All right, guys. Well, good luck, Pops.
Thanks, Sammy.
Proud of you for making it this far. I mean, at least we know how to pack your bike up now.
We now know how to pack the bike.
We learned a lot of things.
We've learned a lot of things. Whether they're actually useful things, we'll...
TBD.
The TBD.
Yeah, we're going to figure that out. So, okay. Here we go. We'll see you guys next episode.